you check the children? You're a little mad sometimes.
Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna play?
Sometimes. That is what I...
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Long days and pleasant nights, fellow travelers along the path of the beam. I am known on this level of the tower as Jaime and Fuego, and if it please you, join me here along with...
I'm Cecil Laird.
Dan Reezy for a bit of palaver on Hail to Stephen King, and this is going to be a little 2021 update because with the productivity of Sai King, he put out 2 new novels just this past year. So, I mean, yeah, he is vigilant in his creativity, and I appreciate that greatly. So, if you want to check out all of the previous versions of this, we do have them broken down into 5 separate videos based on decades. So, we did 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, and 2010s, and since we're starting a new decade and hopefully many more years of creativity with Sai King, yes, we just had to update you properly, and Cecil is along as he was for all of those previous videos, and we're very stoked to at least give a little bit of a ranking and maybe reappropriation of some. I'm looking at certain ones here, and I'm wondering if I would shift them about.
Changes, okay.
But
this is your 2021 update. You're welcome to do it.
It is, and that's more so because when I reread some of these King books, most recently like Black House, for instance, it was the recent book of the month for us. I might shift that up to a B at this particular point. I found so much more interesting merit in it, but I don't know if we should necessarily do that.
It's up to you.
Yeah, that's
if you want to do the update, or if you just want to tackle these new books and do the update later, it's up to you.
Yeah, because this would be a
This is
meticulous
the time to do
process of going like
you'd have to go through
by
each
book
one.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, which might be a little tougher.
Maybe we'll do
but-
that in 2022.
Yeah, exactly. And there is already a third Gwendy book that's coming out in February of 2022. It is, at least as of now, the only new Sai King release that we are aware of. But let's talk later. Do you have any sort of familiarity with this story? Did I gush you a little bit about it when it first came out?
I think you may have brought it up a little bit, but I don't rightly recall what you said, if so.
Yeah, this is basically Sai King doing The Sixth Sense to a degree. It's about a kid that sees and can commune with dead people. And the interesting thing about Jaime Conklin, I think is the name of our protagonist, is that he has this uncanny ability not only to talk to the dead, but they have to be truthful with him. So so they are basically at his beck and call and have to be truthful in that regard. And so, it all really comes to his realization when because it takes place in New York City, and there's this guy that dies in a car crash, and he sees the dead person in the car crash, like he sees the corpse, but then he also sees like the spirit, the apparition of said character, like waving at him. And so it doesn't really become supremely apparent until he grows up, and it's in like the 2010s, and his mother is a literary agent, and her her breadwinner essentially is this guy who has done all of these stories about these like Roanoke romance novels, and they're very borderline sleazy, I guess you could say. There's like lots of sex and I don't know, very soap opera-ish, I guess you could say. And so when he still had one more book on his current deal, he ends up dying. And so it basically turns into Jaime having to try to get into contact with the spirit of this guy so that he can give the details of the final Roanoke book, and then for his mother to kind of ghostwrite it and put it under his name. And so it's another one of those King stories where you have
the writer as the central character.
Writer as
surprise.
Kind of.
Okay.
Well, I mean, the kid is the central character, but it's another book about writing, essentially. And so it's actually another one that is about a young boy having like kind of a grandfatherly relationship with somebody very akin to, I guess, like Hearts in Atlantis, if you ever saw that film, which was done with Anthony Hopkins, and rest peacefully to Mr. Anton Yelchin. But so it does have a sweetness to it in that regard, and it's a cool relationship. But the mother is involved with this like kind of dirty cop, and she has like drugs and stuff, and so it does veer into more of that like hard crime sort of situation. And it is the third book published under the Hard Case Crime, the like subsidiary. King pretty much does everything at this point. it's not Viking, it's not Doubleday, I think it's Simon & Schuster, if I'm not mistaken. And so that's where his main novels are published, but besides The Colorado Kid and Joyland, this is the third one under the Hard Case Crime. So since I'm not trying to spoil anything, the third act does go more into the crime side of things, and I do like this book better than Billy Summers. I would say this is definitely a solid B.
Okay.
B, maybe even veering into the B+. I think as far as Psyching's output in 2021, this book, and shout out to Mike Kearns from Mike's Book Reviews, him and I are kind of in a similar path of thinking about this one, that this is the superior of the two that Psyching put out this past year. So.
All right. Sorry, it's taking a little second for my computer to catch up to everything at the moment.
All good. And I love that artwork too. I don't know. There's a very cool like pulpiness to all of the hard case stuff that King's done, and I'm not sure if there's any future plans for it. But later, despite a rather lackluster title that doesn't really give much of any indication about the story itself, I thought Jamie's mother, Tia, I think her name was. She's a great character, complex in her own regard, and it is a solid read.
And you're not going to say whether this stuck with the realistic side of things versus going supernatural?
Well, I mean, since the kid can see dead people, it's got the supernatural aspect.
Okay,
so
got
it wasn't of the grounded nature which we have in Billy Summers, which was the August release that Psyching just put out. And but as you can see, like the similarity with the Colorado Kid right there is that just like hand-drawn, like kind of, I don't know, pulpy kind of noir detective novel sort of vibe, and you definitely have that here. But
all right, well then that
very
brings
satisfying
us
release. I like
to a book that you apparently didn't like quite as much.
No, not quite as much, and yet this is one that it's been praised, and then there's other Psyching like constant readers that have been a little less about it. I'm somewhere in the middle of the road, I suppose. Billy Summers is about a former Iraq War veteran who has got into the hitman sort of game, and so he is a kill for hire sort of dude, but he only agrees to hits on bad people. Okay. So if it's other like really nasty sort of peeps, that's like where he draws the line. He doesn't kill innocents, and so he has that sort of, I don't know, I guess inherent valor or just conviction or whatever. But this book is odd in the fact that it also veers into the writing. Okay. And so he has this hit that he is supposed to be doing, and he has to lay low and assume an identity for a number of months, and he also has to, with assuming this identity, go into having a separate profession than what he actually makes his money doing, and so he becomes a writer. And yet in the like faux writerness of it, he actually starts enjoying what he's doing. He's writing about both his childhood and some abuses that he encountered and how that shaped him, but then also starts writing about his time in overseas in Iraq and stuff. And so the book kind of jumps around between his actual writings and reflections, and then when stuff doesn't go as well as he would have liked with this particular hit. This is one where even when I was reviewing it, I was like walking on eggshells, dude, because once you get past that first act, there is so much that could potentially be spoiled, and even when I tried my damnedest not to spoil, people still said I spoiled. And so
is that the case? Because we got a lot of complaints through the parts. People saying you spoiled stuff.
I didn't say anything about the second or the third act.
Okay, all right.
It's so difficult to review things sometimes. And
well, no, I had no idea if you had or not, and I was like, well, look, if he did, whatever. You know?
Well, and I didn't tell. Well, I did list it as a spoiler-free review, and so that's one of the dangers, I suppose, when so much changes in the second and the third act, and yet even the first act is relatively formative. And so I think the biggest thing is that I'm just not that into like war sort of stuff, especially, I mean, I've seen Jarhead, I've seen
I'm not either.
Zero Dark 30 and stuff like that. And so whereas a lot of constant readers and people on the Hale group, they loved that stuff where he was over in Iraq, I just what they called it, Fallujah Palooza or something like that. God. Yeah, so I don't know. It just was less my thing. I thought the strongest bits were the abuse that our character Billy encounters as a child, and a very pivotal instance with his sister where he saves his sister from a horrible boyfriend that his mother had, and something that he has to do, which is really, really messed up, but was obviously formative. And so I enjoyed the character of Billy, but nonetheless, I thought just lots of people have pointed it out. King was kind of out of his element, and despite his research and everything, there are a lot of military people, most notably, that I've seen that have been very critical of those portions. And yet, I did really enjoy how this book ended. It did hit me in the feels significantly. The best thing that I could probably, in the second and the third act, and I hope this doesn't spoil stuff, but it's very Leon the Professional.
Okay.
With a relationship that starts to form between him and this girl that he saves from a really nasty situation.
Well, and again, I know you're not trying to spoil things, but I did see that there are some ties into previous Stephen King stories and stuff like that.
A little bit. I mean, I would say...
Or is that blown out of proportion?
I would say later more so than anything, you know, when we're talking about Deadlights and stuff like
that.
Okay,
maybe that's what it was.
Later is the one that had significant connective sort of tissue and stuff.
Gotcha.
But, yeah, Billy Summers, it's solid. I kind of feel very similarly about this that I do like The Institute, or, you know, some of the other later things that King has written that I thought were... They were serviceable. They were good. I mean, lots of great dialogue, interesting characters and stuff. But as far as the narrative goes, it's definitely more so a C for me.
Okay.
So yeah, it's still better than Under the Dome and Sleeping Beauties, and it is very different, I will say, than anything else that King has written. So, you know, props to that. But that doesn't necessarily mean that I felt the execution was as on point. He still loves writing about this, like just hard crime. You know, these sort of, I don't know, irredeemable people, which is what Billy is, you know, because he kills for money, and yet he still has conviction, and he still has, you know, a goodness about him, which is why the relationship that forms in the second and the third act is so just inherently pivotal. But I don't know, this one just did not do it for me like it had for some, and but once again, it's still Sai King, and so it's better than a lot of other stuff in this sort of subgenre that you can encounter. But as far as iconic, I don't know if King has put something just amazing out since Revival, which is in our S tier up there. So, yeah, that's about the long and the short of it, I suppose.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. So, and you said the things that we were expecting for next year, possibly next update, is what? A third Gwendy book.
There's a yep, exactly. So it's
the second one's on there too, right? Is that the D one down there?
Well, that's the first one. That is the first one.
Where's
Wendy's
the second
Button
one?
Box. Well, that's the
we
thing.
didn't add that because King did not
co-write that second one.
But you think the third one he is?
He is actually coming back to co-write the third one, and it's going to be a full-length novel as opposed to a novella.
So then I guess let's ask the viewers. Do you want us to add the second one to the tier list, even though King is not technically a part of it?
Yeah.
You know, but then we have all three Gwendy books on here, right?
True,
I mean, do you want to be completionists, or do you want to just do the ones that King was involved with? I imagine he looked at the second Gwendy book before it came out.
Yeah, he gave Shizmar like some, you know, just go ahead and roll with it.
So that's passive, you know, endorsement at least.
It's like the equivalent of like the Castle Rock TV series for me, where you're taking King characters and IP and just doing it without any of his involvement. So I don't know if you guys would like me to throw that on there. Yeah, it probably wouldn't be a separate video since we're still talking about doing like a master.
Yeah, I figure we just do annual updates.
Yeah.
Right? Whatever comes out in a given year, we can just add on and do a new update.
Yeah, and I mean, next year...
Does that sound good to you guys?
Yeah, exactly. Please, give us that feedback. It's greatly appreciated. So maybe when we add this third Gwendy book on there, maybe I just, for the hell of it, throw
just do the second.
My thoughts. It's not good though, guys. It's probably like a D, but you know, I'm gonna revisit.
Well, then that's consistent.
I'm gonna revisit the entire trilogy when the third book comes out.
Well, then it might be the better to do it then.
Yeah, exactly. So it's all fresh, and obviously, anytime I take a peek at this stuff after just letting it settle, I do often find more merit, as with the aforementioned Black House, which I think is an awesome book.
Also, let us know, you guys. Do you want 2022 to be the official revisit of all the previous books to see if Fuego has moved any of them at that point? Or do you want to just keep what he's done as he's gone?
On hail, so, yeah.
Well, I mean, because you said a couple might move, right? A couple might move if you had to relook at them right now.
Oh, not just Gwendy, but as far as
I'm talking about
books in
all
general.
the books in general. Yeah.
Oh man, and looking at a C for drawing of the three. I'm sure so many people are just very hateful about that one. But yeah.
But is that where you would put it still?
I would still leave it there.
Okay, well, there you go. See, like, maybe there's not that much of a reason to revisit, but I don't know. You tell me, Fuego. Do you think there's enough of a reason to relook at them?
In a year's time, sure, because I will have revisited a ton of these, so you never know. I mean, the S tier, I don't think any of those would be shifting downward.
Okay.
Yeah, those are all pretty much...
We had a lot of people disagreeing with a lot of your stuff, but a lot of people... What I love about it, guys, is even the people that disagree, they still say, I respect your opinion, I just would move this book here and move this book here, and that's more than we can say for a lot of the content that we put out.
This is very true.
So
yeah, and thanks for not being a troll and just talking smack about somebody's opinion, because as I always contend, our art's subjective, right? And
maybe we should see if we could bring Kearns on for the revisit.
Oh,
go through all the books.
From what he was telling me, he wants to do like a deep Dark Tower spoiler thing with us. He has so much that he would like to collaborate on.
I'll bet he would give his opinion on these.
Oh, I'm sure he would too. He hasn't. He hasn't read every single Stephen King book.
Oh,
he had his divorce with Stephen King, as he very angrily calls it. Well, it was because he hated the way the Dark Tower ended.
Oh, okay.
As I did, and a lot of other people did too. But that's for another video, guys.
All of that time to this?
Yeah,
is that the kind of thing? Okay. Yeah. That's the only excuse you can give yourselves as fans.
Yeah, but they do some other characters.
There's other turns of the wheel.
There are. Well, yeah. I mean, watch the Mist on Spike TV, for God's sake. Yeah, awful. Anyway.
All right. Well, there you go, Fuego. This is your baby, so you go ahead and round her out.
So obviously, a grande gracias. Make sure to follow us and share and all that good stuff. All of the YouTubey things. I feel like I'm Ryan George at this goddamn point. Where he's just like all of the things
like
and all the things and the stuff and whatever. But yeah, Cecil and myself, thank you guys so very much. And until the Wheel of Ka comes around once more, hasta luego, amigos, constant viewers and readers alike. Say thank you. I hope we've been well met. We will share more of this palaver sooner rather than later. And until then, remember to stay scared and read Stephen King. If it comes down to both of these, I would say later is your better recommendation.